health and peace and happiness for everyone. Ashreinu, how good and beautiful is our heritage. Parashat Vayeshev, Tafshin Pei Bet. Relationships between people, between different groups in society, Chanukah, general culture, Torah law, all stemming from Parashat Vayeshev. Let's go. Discrimination between brothers or between people in general almost inevitably causes anger, envy, sometimes hatred, and even violence. The Gemara in Masechet Shabbat says the following: a man should never single out one son amongst his sons, for on account of the 2 selas weight of silk that Yaakov gave Yosef in excess to his brothers became jealous of him, and the matter resulted in our forefathers' descent to Egypt, to Mitzrayim. The Mishnah in Masechet Bava Batra says, if a person writes over his estate to strangers and leaves out his children, Chachamim are not pleased with that. And the Gemara says, do not be part of a transfer of inheritance from the rightful recipient, even if it is being transferred from a son who is not behaving properly to a son who is behaving properly. The Rambam, when he brings these halachot, in the halachot of inheritance, Hilchot Nachalot, the Rambam puts these 2 quotes from the Gemara together. The Rambam says our sages were not pleased with one who gives his property to others, taking it away from his heirs. A pious person should not act as a witness with regard to a will in which property is taken from an heir, even when the property is being given to a son who behaves properly, as we said before in the Gemara. And in the same halachot, the Rambam says, a person should not differentiate between his children in his lifetime, even with regard to a small matter, lest this cause competition and envy, as happened with Yosef and his brothers. Yes, there are differences between brothers. Find in each one what's great, what he excels in. Praise them all, give them all love and praise in what they excel in. This is not only on a family level, this is true between different groups in society. Don't give over a feeling of discrimination between different groups in society, even in the world in general. The declaration, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights starts with the words, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. What does the Torah have to say about this? We start in Bereshit, all people are created b'tselem Elohim, in the image of God. We have this story in Parashat Vayeshev telling us don't discriminate between people. In the halacha of the Torah, in Vayikra, you shall not favor in judgment a poor person or respect a great man. You shall judge everyone with justice. In Bamidbar, there shall be one law for you and the proselyte who resides with you. In the Nevi'im, in Malachi, have we not all one Father? In the Ketuvim, in Iyov says, if I don't treat my slave in a fair manner, what will I answer to Hashem? Did not my Maker make him in the womb? And did not one form us both in the womb? And the Mishnah in Masechet Sanhedrin says, the reason that man was created, Adam HaRishon was created single, is for the sake of peace amongst men. That one should not say to another person, my father is greater than yours. Arav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch says in the Haggadah Shel Pesach, note, where we were freed from being slaves. He says the root of one person enslaving another person is not giving the stranger his rights. The criteria by which to judge the level of the laws of a certain country, a certain state, is not by what's given to the regular rich citizens, by how this state treats the strangers. And he says in the Torah, it's not the natural place where a person is born that gives a person rights. It's rights that give a person the right to live in a certain place. And in the Torah law, if you keep the basic laws of morality, which are the Sheva Mitzvot, the 7 mitzvot of Bnei Noach, then you have a right to live in the country and to be a citizen of that country. So we see in all of these different ways, in general culture, in the Torah, maybe general culture got that from the Torah. Don't discriminate. Discrimination causes envy and fights and all kinds of negative things in the world. And we learn from the beginning of the Torah and from the story of Yaakov and Yosef and the brothers. We learn to be very careful about these things. And in Medinat Israel, in our society, we have to be very careful about this. There's also a sensitive issue of finding the balance between giving rights to strangers and making sure that we keep a Jewish state, but we certainly have to be sensitive to these issues from the level of individuals and families to the international level of human rights, and it's all in the Torah. And no, it is not a clash between human rights and the Torah. Sometimes there's sensitivity of putting the different parts together with the right balances, but basically don't discriminate is true in human rights in the world, and maybe it stems from the Torah that is teaching us all of these values through creation, through story, and through halacha. Shabbat Shalom, Chanukah Sameach.